Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well today. My name is Kathy Sorbara. I'm here with Asia and Abba, and we're going to talk to you about something new today. We've been talking about informational interviews this past month, or I guess last month, and this month we're going to start to talk to you about interviewing, which is a topic I don't think is covered very much in terms of PhDs and their job transitions, and I know we get a ton of questions on this topic. So we're going to start at the very beginning of your interviews, and that's normally the phone screen. And we're going to go through what exactly a phone screen is and what the purpose of the phone screen is, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect from that phone screen, and then we'll dive deeper into that in later discussions coming up this month. Hello, Ananya. Thanks for joining us. So let's start with what is a phone screen and what's the purpose of a phone screen? Asia, I'll start with you.
Sure. So the phone screen, and even the term itself sounds kind of funny, is your initial interview step with a company. So while sometimes it may be presented as something that's fairly innocuous, you should know that it's on, game on. It is on for your interview prep. So initially, the phone screen is really intended to see if that company wants to take you to the next step of a much larger interview process. And they are often conducted by either an HR person who may or may not actually be on your team eventually, or it could be done by the hiring manager. In my experience with larger companies, it's usually an HR person that you do the phone screen with, and then the HR person passes on your name or my name to the next step. So the objective really is to just see if, just at the base level, at the foundational level, if you have the skills to fit that job and if you fit. So there's usually maybe a half an hour long. It's not super in depth, but they're incredibly important because they are used to anticipate if you should go to the next step of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. The only thing I add is I think they also kind of watch to see whether or not they're in for a fishing expedition, let's say. So they want to know that you are motivated for this role at this company and not that you have another 20 interviews lined up after this. So they're also looking a lot into your actual motivation for the company and for the role as well.
Yeah.
And Abba, I'll turn to you now. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you can expect from a phone interview based on what the purpose of it is.
Right. So there can be two angles to it. First might be that the HR person or whoever is conducting the phone screen has looked you up on either LinkedIn or they have your resume from some other source. And it's great if they have that, because then, it'll save you some time and they won't ask you all the trivial questions of tell me your background and why are you interested in this position and so on. But sometimes they have no information and they've just gotten a clue from somewhere, from some website that, okay, this person with this title is looking for a job. And they're trying their luck, like Kathy said, fishing. So that is the time when you actually want to grab on to this opportunity. Take it really, really seriously. Keep your answers really short and to the point. So to the question that, oh, tell me a little bit about yourself, keep it like 2 to 3 sentences max, instead of giving them your whole bio data. Just do that. So that's one of the questions to expect. The next, they will, if you happen to be an international person, they will of course ask you if you require a sponsorship or do you already have a citizenship. And unfortunately, your name gives away that you may not be in the US originally, and you may be here for study. Then the next question to expect is, what are you looking for in this company? What kind of positions are you looking for? Because that may not be clear from your profile. So those are some of the questions you can expect in phone screens.
Yeah. And actually, I might add one to Abba. So it's almost always in a phone screen, you're going to get why this company, why this role, and why now, and why are you transitioning out of academia? You can
Right.
almost always expect those four in some variation of that theme. And depending on who the person is, especially if they're an HR manager, they may ask you from some very high level behavioral questions, which we'll get into, I know, a bit later. And we'll talk to you guys about how to prep for that. But always, why this company? Why this role? Why now? And why are you transitioning out of academia? They won't say transitioning out of academia. They'll say, why do you want to go into business, or why do you want to go into industry? Always expect that, have really succinct answers. And then the other part of the phone screen that's absolutely critical is you guys need to realize that you're testing these companies out too. It's not just about them testing you. You need to find if this company, through the informational interviews that we talked about before, but also on the interview, find out if this is in fact the role in the company that you want to take. So you should be coming with your own questions as well. And I can tell you that when I've done phone screens and candidates don't have questions, what that tells me is that they actually are not taking this opportunity very seriously. And that in fact, they probably have 20 other companies that they're looking at, and they're not very committed to this one. So come with questions.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing I'll say, and I like how you talked about concise answers, because we will be looking at your communication skills during this time. So they want to know that you can clearly state your motivations for the role, and you can clearly state your qualifications. So this isn't just a chat to see if you fit, it's also a chat to kind of broadly assess your transferable skills as well. So that's really important. And I see a question here from Satish. He asks, how will it be helpful for us, the phone screen? My suggestion is to use the phone screen to get to know the company a bit more, because chances are HR is going to, let's say, sell the company to you, and we'll talk a bit about the company culture, and they'll want to know whether or not you fit within that company culture. So also take the opportunity to ask some questions around this and learn more about the company at this time as well.
Right.
Yep. And it's a great opportunity to clarify what the actual day-to-day is of the role. You don't necessarily want to be asking that on other parts of the interview, but the phone screen is a good time to find out more about the team, the actual work that you'll be doing.
Yeah.
Right. And what I want to add to Asia's great suggestion is that you always want to ask how this company is progressing, like what is the goal of this company. Many times what happens is that the website has a very fancy mission. It has a very fancy, goal listed, which tells you nothing. You don't understand how many products they have. And so very politely, you could just say, oh, I would just like to learn a little bit more about this, and so that I can see how I fit into this. So like Asia said, it's a two-way street. So you can always interview the HR person too.
Yep. And the only thing I'll end with, which we haven't touched on yet, is they may ask you about your salary expectations. It's really the perfect time for them to get the conversation started, and the worst time for you to get the conversation started, because you haven't yet added value and kind of proven yourself as their ideal candidate. So you don't want to knock yourself out of the running by not answering this question correctly. So what we always tell our associates is to say, I'm willing to consider all reasonable offers, and really try not to mention a figure or deflect that question back to them, and keep the focus on the job. The last thing you want is to make them believe that it's all about the money and not about your willingness to work for the company and add value to the company.
Right.
There's a really great question here from Ananya that I want to address, which is, what's a good way to answer why you want to transition out of academia? So I can tell you what I've used in the past, but here's the thing. Whatever your answer is, it needs to be your own, because it's very obvious to people if you're being authentic in that answer or not. So things like, I want to have a bigger impact on thousands of patients than what I might have had in the past. I want to impact business. I want to work in rare diseases, whatever the company's mission is. Say something about the company's mission, say something about their product portfolio, say something about the patients they're serving or the customers they're serving, and focus on that, and not I need to get out of academia because I don't want to write grants or, chase money or that kind of thing, right? Make it about serving the customer type, but also make it authentic to yourself, because as I said, it's obvious to me when I've done interviews if people are actually connecting with the company rather than trying to run away from academia.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And obviously we have lots of questions on this topic, which tells me it's going to be a really great topic to cover this month. A lot of people curious about the subject. So we'll continue it next week in more detail. We'll dive a bit deeper into the interview questions and how to prepare. But for that, thanks so much, Asia and Abba, for your time. And if anyone has any other questions, just shoot them in the comments and we'll definitely get to them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.